Okay, the Annihilation Barge 9th edition, a tank which has previously been quite hard to use for various reasons. We did come up with some tactics in 8th edition, which I posted a video about. However, how about now in 9th edition? Well, let's find out. It's coming right up.
Necrons!
Nick speaking, and welcome to this video. And if you're new to the channel and you want to learn about Necrons and more, then please subscribe and turn on all notifications so you don't miss an upload. Okay, so the Annihilation Barge. In 8th edition, we really did struggle to use it, down to the meta of 8th edition where the Annihilation Barges just weren't a good choice. We had lots of other units that could do exactly the same job that the Annihilation Barge could do, like Tomb Blades, for example. However, I did come up with a plan, some ideas to actually make the Annihilation Barge work in 8th edition, and actually from that video I started to use 2 Annihilation Barges in my list, and it was a pretty competitive list too, and I had some good success with that list. However, things have changed in 9th edition, so we're going to take a closer look at the barge now, see what the changes are, see if those changes make the Annihilation Barge worthwhile in 9th edition, and if not, how we can adapt our 8th edition tactics for 9th edition for this little tank. So first of all, the stat line, which, to be fair, hasn't really changed much, except for one quite big thing. We now have a 3+ save on the tank rather than a 4+ save. It still has the 8 wounds and toughness 6 that a lot of little tanks have. However, we do have quantum shielding, which of course has also changed in 9th edition. The new quantum shielding gives us a 5+ invulnerable save. Not only that, but it negates any wounds that come in that have an unmodified damage characteristic of 1 to 3. Happy Easter, everyone! Of course, we still have living metal, allowing us to regain some of our lost wounds. The rest of the stats have stayed the same. It's still a dynasty unit, it's a vehicle, it hovers, it flies, and it explodes. However, there is a big change to the guns. Uzi 9mm. The vehicle's main gun, the twin Tesla Destructor, has increased in range. It's 36 inches now, where previously it was 24 inches, so now we can stand quite far back and still shoot our guns. Previously you had to get in quite close, especially if you wanted to take advantage of the Mefret Dynasty half range. Not only that, but we've got 10 shots with this gun now, where previously it was 8. The gun is still strength 7 with 1 damage, and it has the Tesla special rule. This of course has changed since 8th edition to an unmodified rule of a 6 to hit. However, on a 6 to hit you get 2 extra hits. That's pretty useful, especially as we've got a longer range and of course more dice, 10 dice. Now, don't be deceived by this gun. It is strength 7, which sounds really good, but it's not a tank busting gun. This gun's primary target is infantry, which is where we come across a few problems with this gun, because we have lots of other units that can, well, kill infantry. We can take Tomb Blades, there's so many choices. However, yeah, this gun is definitely an infantry killing gun. Don't take it if you want to take out tanks, which is slightly odd, and another reason why it's quite difficult to take this gun, because of course it's a heavy support choice and it's up against Doomsday Arcs and Doomstalkers, which are our tank killing units. For reference, the twin Tesla Destructor is now a heavy weapon rather than an assault weapon, and also so are our 2 underslung guns. They're both heavy. Not a problem in 9th edition because of course vehicles can move and shoot heavy weapons without any penalties. Talking of the underslung guns, the Gauss Cannon hasn't had any change apart from it's a heavy rather than an assault weapon. The Tesla Cannon, however, has changed. It's now 30 inches rather than 24. Not quite as long as the big gun, but at least it has that bigger range for when you are standing back. Now, on paper, the Gauss Cannon is probably going to do a little bit more damage. However, personally, I like the longer range and also the extra chances of getting those sixes, and potentially if you're in the Mefret dynasty with the extra AP, I think that's the better gun. I generally use double Tesla on my Annihilation barges. It just seems to match the vehicle a little better. So that's the stats, a slightly longer range allowing us to stand further back if we want to, maybe out of harm's way from assaults. And with that change in quantum shielding, it means that potentially we could be a little harder to take down. But the Annihilation Barge has got some stiff competition. Like I said, we've got Tomb Blades in a totally different force organisation slot where they've got lots of guns and they're fast moving. I mean, the Annihilation Barge can move 12 inches if you want it to, but it's a heavy support slot and it's up against some very big hitting vehicles in that slot. It's going to be difficult to take this barge. However, maybe this unit is one of your favourite units, you just like to use it. Maybe you've taken a list with detachments which have allowed you to get your heavy hitting guns and maybe a couple of Annihilation barges in the list. Well, do my 8th edition tactics still work as an alternative to maybe how the Annihilation Barge should be used, i.e. as a mini gunboat to shoot infantry? Well, actually, I think my previous ideas still work in 9th edition. You could use these barges as the linchpin of your army, push them forward as quickly as you can on turn 1 and force your opponent to deal with them. Usually, most people will shoot at the nearest target, and if they're shooting at your barges, they're not shooting at the rest of your army, especially if you can push them forward onto an objective. Now, if you do survive the first volley of shooting, potentially you could move and assault your enemy in your next turn. Now, previously I said assault vehicles to stop them from falling back and shooting, but of course in 9th edition vehicles can shoot into the assault. So I think now it would be best to assault infantry to stop them from falling back and shooting. So yeah, if you can in your next turn and you're still alive, assault some infantry. Using them this way will give you a bit more control, will take the heat off of the rest of your army and give your opponent something to think about, being offensive with them. I think the Mefret dynasty is still the dynasty of choice for these little tanks, especially if you're going to be aggressive with them. You can, of course, stand further back, especially now with that 36-inch range gun. Ideally you want to be 30 inches to make use of the underslung gun as well, but we can use them as a little mini gunboat to kill infantry if you want to. So whilst this unit isn't going to be in many lists, especially competitive lists, if you like the unit and you want to play it, well, there's a few ideas for you. Now, if you want to expand on those ideas and have a look at the 8th edition tactical video, I know it's a little bit older and some of it's out of date. However, there's a lot of good information there, especially if you want to play the Annihilation Barge in your list.